Today, our topic is the Stoics' Guide to Managing Expectations. Life is full of surprises, and often things don't go as we plan. We expect certain outcomes, but reality has its own way of unfolding. This can lead to disappointment, frustration, or even anger. But what if there was a way to handle these situations better? What if we could manage our expectations in a way that brings peace and clarity, even when things don't go our way? This is where Stoicism comes in. Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that teaches us how to live a good life by focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. It's about finding inner strength and resilience, no matter what happens around us. So, let's dive into how Stoicism can help us manage our expectations and live a more fulfilling life. First, let's talk about what expectations are. Expectations are beliefs or hopes about how things will turn out. We expect our jobs to go well, our relationships to be happy, and our plans to succeed. But the problem is, life is unpredictable. Things change, people act in ways we don't expect, and sometimes even our best efforts don't lead to the results we want. When our expectations are not met, we feel let down. This is natural, but it can also cause a lot of unnecessary suffering. Stoicism teaches us that the key to happiness is not in controlling every outcome, but in controlling how we respond to those outcomes. One of the core ideas in Stoicism is the distinction between what is in our control and what is not. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Some things are within our power, while others are not." What is in our power? Our thoughts, our actions, our choices. What is not in our power? Everything else: other people's actions, the weather, the past, the future. When we focus too much on things outside our control, we set ourselves up for disappointment. For example, imagine you're preparing for a job interview. You can control how well you prepare, how you present yourself, and how you answer the questions. But you cannot control the other candidates, the interviewer's mood, or whether the company decides to hire someone else. If you expect to get the job simply because you worked hard, you might feel crushed if you don't. But if you focus on doing your best and accept that the outcome is not entirely in your hands, you can handle the result with grace, no matter what happens. This brings us to another important Stoic concept, Amor fati, which means love of fate. This idea, popularized by the philosopher Marcus Aurelius, encourages us to accept and even embrace whatever happens in life, good or bad. Instead of resisting reality, we learn to see every event as an opportunity for growth. Even when things don't go as planned, there is always something to learn or a way to improve. For example, if you don't get the job you wanted, it might lead you to explore other opportunities you hadn't considered. Or it might teach you resilience and patience. By loving your fate, you stop fighting against life and start working with it. Another Stoic practice that helps manage expectations is negative visualization. This might sound strange, but it's a powerful tool. Negative visualization involves imagining the worst-case scenario in any situation. For example, if you're worried about a presentation at work, take a moment to imagine what could go wrong. Maybe you forget your lines, or the audience doesn't seem interested. By envisioning these possibilities, you prepare yourself mentally for any outcome. This doesn't mean you expect the worst to happen, but it helps you realize that even if it does, you can handle it. When you've already thought about the worst, anything better feels like a bonus. This practice reduces anxiety and helps you approach life with a calmer, more balanced mindset. Stoicism also teaches us to be mindful of our desires. Often, our expectations are tied to what we want: more money, a better job, a happier relationship. But the Stoics remind us that desires can be endless. No matter how much we achieve, there's always something else we want. This constant chasing can leave us feeling unsatisfied. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to focus on what we already have and to cultivate gratitude. Take a moment each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for: your health, your family, your abilities. When you appreciate what you have, you're less likely to feel disappointed by what you don't. This shift in perspective can bring a deep sense of contentment. Another important Stoic lesson is to stay present. Often, our expectations are rooted in the future. We worry about what might happen or hope for things to turn out a certain way. But the future is uncertain, and dwelling on it only creates anxiety. The Stoics remind us to focus on the present moment, because that's where life happens. Right now you have the power to make choices, to take action, to be kind, to learn, to grow. When you focus on the present, you're less likely to be overwhelmed by expectations about the future. You can take things one step at a time and handle whatever comes your way. Of course, managing expectations doesn't mean giving up on goals or dreams. Stoicism isn't about being passive or indifferent. It's about pursuing your goals with effort and determination, while also being prepared for any outcome. For example, if you're training for a marathon, give it your all. Work hard, stay disciplined, and push yourself. But also remember that injuries, bad weather, or other factors might affect your performance. If you don't finish the race as fast as you hoped, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you did your best under the circumstances, and that's something to be proud of. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the process, not just the result. Finally, Stoicism reminds us that we are part of something bigger. The ancient Stoics believed in a rational, interconnected universe. They saw themselves as part of a larger whole, and this perspective helped them manage their expectations. When things didn't go their way, they reminded themselves that life is bigger than their individual desires. This doesn't mean their problems didn't matter, but it helped them see things in context. For example, if you're upset about a small setback at work, take a step back and think about the bigger picture. In the grand scheme of things, this setback might not matter as much as it feels in the moment. This broader perspective can bring a sense of peace and clarity. So, how can you start applying these Stoic principles to manage your expectations? Begin by reflecting on what's in your control and what's not. When you face a challenge, ask yourself, what can I do about this? Focus on your actions and let go of the rest. Practice negative visualization to prepare for different outcomes and remind yourself to love your fate, no matter what happens. Cultivate gratitude for what you have and stay present in the moment. Pursue your goals with passion, but be ready to adapt if things don't go as planned. And always remember that you're part of a larger universe, which can help you keep things in perspective. Managing expectations isn't about lowering your standards or giving up on what you want. It's about finding a balance between striving for your goals and accepting reality as it is. It's about building resilience so that no matter what life throws at you, you can handle it with grace and strength. The Stoic approach to managing expectations is not just a philosophy, it's a practical way of living that can bring peace, clarity, and fulfillment. So, the next time you feel disappointed or frustrated, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Focus on what you can control, embrace whatever happens, and trust that you have the strength to handle it. Life may not always meet your expectations, but with Stoicism, you can meet life with courage and wisdom.